Hey, Pastor Ray Barnett here with you. Glad that you could be with me here on the Oasis. And as always, I wish you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Well, this time the weather people weren't too far off. Said it's a 100% chance of rain. Looks like it could be, but so far so good. We're down here at the lazy river. And thought I would pick up on a thought. We have talked about it before. I want to pick up on a thought and just expand on it that I mentioned yesterday on the broadcast. It's inevitable in life that there's going to be setbacks. No one in any endeavor in life goes from 0 to point A to point B with no obstacles, no setbacks, no failures, and so on. But there seems to be a kind of, I'll call it an expectation. When you've had nervous symptoms, some of you have had them for years, some of you have had them very acutely, and now I get our comments and feedback from a few of you, which is really great, that you're doing a whole lot better. You're making progress. And it's at that point, and especially for those of you who have suffered acutely, and especially for those of you who have suffered for many years, there is this mistaken notion, though I don't think it's conscious, and that's why I want to bring this out to you today. This mistaken notion that now that you're free from nervous symptoms, this is the way it's always going to be for the rest of your life. What I'm here to tell you is that even after you're free of nervous symptoms, it is inevitable that there's going to be setbacks. For example, some of you have now been doing good for many months. Maybe there's some watching that have been doing well for many years. And months and years added up of, let's say, good mental health, good health, does not rule out the inevitable setback. And that's the key word there, the adjective inevitable. You're going to have setbacks. But especially those of you who have actually been doing very well are going to have setbacks. So if you accept this as truth, which it is, then you will be able to make sure, well, I should say, then you'll be able to make that setback not so disastrous. It won't be so both prolonged and acute. Now, a lot of people who have been doing well, when they have a setback, it throws them off so much that they actually give up trying any longer to be without anxiety, depression, and all the other symptoms that go with it. They just stop trying. Because if you've suffered, and all of you have, if you've suffered and then you're well, you're so enjoying being well and feeling well that to go back to having a rise of some symptoms throws you off, and then you become fearful of the suffering that you had back years ago or weeks ago or months ago, and the suffering's back, and then that's it. It just becomes so discouraging that you wind up back where you started, but many times it's actually worse than when you started. So I'm here to tell you that a setback or setbacks plural, are inevitable in life in general, but when you're dealing with mental nervous symptoms or mental health issues, those setbacks are inevitable, just like everything else in life has its setbacks, its obstacles, and so on. All right, so if you can accept that, if you will accept that, and right now, I know some of you are doing very, very well, so this is not to throw fear onto you. It's just to say, be, well, it's just to say be careful of it, but it's also to prevent you, I just use the word inevitable setbacks, so that when you have, it's not if, but when you have a setback, it won't throw you all the way off. You won't just surrender and give up and say, I thought this symptom was gone. I know in my own personal history, I've had numerous setbacks in many, many areas of my life. But I always understood that life is going to throw these things at me anyway, so okay, let's not make it worse than it is. And that's a key thought there. So you're having a setback right now. The depression that was lifted is now begun to return. The anxieties and nervousness that was there is beginning to return. Or a symptom, just name a symptom. I'm thinking of someone who's had stomach issues all their life, and it gets better and worse and get better and worse. But what they do is they don't make that setback to be crippling. So, number one is expect that setbacks are inevitable. And again, that wouldn't be good news for you right now if you're feeling well, because you don't want to think about that. So, you don't have to think about it. Just stick it in your pocket and remember it. Number two, when a setback occurs, because you've expected it, because you knew it was going to happen, don't let it surprise you, shock you, and put you into a state of, why bother? I thought I was all healed and all that. Yeah, in other words, you want to make the setback to be very mild. And you control that after you've gotten well, or in the course of getting well. You control whether the setback is going to be a major disaster or whether it's just going to be transient. Now, that's the good news, right? You've enjoyed good health now for some time. Many of you are making good progress. And setback comes, and you say to yourself, okay, well, I was warned about this. I'm not going to make this into a big deal. I'm going to just deal with it calmly. And the beauty of that approach is that when the setback occurs, it's usually mild. However, if you take that setback and get all hysterical about it and angry and frustrated and so on, then the setback is likely to be major, and that's not good. That's not good. Setbacks in every area of life, but we're talking about mental health. Setbacks are inevitable. They're going to happen. You dictate whether the setback is mild and transient, disappears in a few minutes or a few hours, and in some cases maybe a day or so, or whether it's a major setback where, look, I've known people who were in psychiatric institutions, then got out, did very, very well, and it could be years, and all of a sudden you find out they're back in a psychiatric institute. The reason being is that setbacks are inevitable. You control whether that setback is a major setback or a minor one. You want to be free of your symptoms. That's what this channel is all about. As you know, and we have some new subscribers again, so just to alert them that this channel is all about doing the training, actually doing the work. Without that, the information is not really going to be terribly helpful. You'll just be able to, recite, regurgitate what you've heard, but that don't mean that you really, accept it. Like I told you yesterday on yesterday's broadcast, that you have to detach the thought of danger from your brain, but it can't just be a mantra. You have to actually be convinced that you're in no danger. That's the kind of the secret to this thing with anxiety, is taking the thought of danger out of the brain, which leads us to the setback. It's the same thing. The thought of danger has been out of your mind for a few weeks or months now for some of you. Great. That was great progress. And all of a sudden, it's back in because some symptom came up. It's at that point it becomes very critical of how you handle that thought. Is it going to be, you're going to work it up, you're going to process it, or you're going to say, hey, you know what? I was warned of this. Take some deep breaths, do the training that I have been taught, and you'll find that the setback is very minimal. I'm just thinking of a situation, and it slipped my mind. Wanted to just share with you. Well, anyway, these symptoms that you have are largely under your control. Well, I said that wrong. The symptoms that you have are largely not under your control. The body's going to do what it's going to do, but your thought life is 100% under your control. Let me give you an example. You get thoughts that come into your mind. Everybody does, right? Get thoughts that come into your mind that you don't like, or that you know are wrong or morally wrong or whatever. At that point, this stream flows here, right? This little creek, it flows. The thought stream. We're going to put up a dam, like you can see behind me, there's a little, it's not actually a dam, it's just a little, I don't know what it is. What it is. The water flows over, I guess it is a dam. But it doesn't stop the water. The water just flows over it. I don't even know why it's there. If you were to dam the river up, it stops. That's what happens when you focus on a symptom. Once you focus on a symptom and you really concentrate and pay attention to it, and it's frightening you, it gains more power. The thought stream stops right there. But if you don't focus on it, then your thoughts will just follow a natural pattern. You know, think about it. All of us have thoughts that they come and they go. Something's in your mind, and there's something else in your mind. They come and they go. If you don't focus on it. So with respect to the inevitable setback, and I want you to make sure that you understand that word, that it's inevitable. If you start to really concentrate on it, and you start to really focus on it, then that setback is likely to be major. If you just dismiss the thought, there is no danger, I'm not in any danger, this is a bump in the road, you know, just a speed bump, then the setback will be minor. I just want you to understand basically two things. Setbacks will occur along the way. Setbacks will occur when you're well, when you're kind of beating this thing. Number two, you determine with your thoughts whether that setback is a real major disaster or whether it's just mild and transient, and you let your thought stream just keep on going. It's really the secret. The secret is not focusing on your symptoms, but rather just taking the thought of danger, as explained yesterday, taking the thought of danger and detaching it. It's not easily done, but it must be done. And if you do that, your setback will not be, as we say colloquially, it will not be a real big deal. Okay? Just remember, setbacks are inevitable. They're going to happen. It's just a question of when, and it's just a question of how bad will it be, but that depends on how you handle it. Handle it calmly, bump in the road, it'll be gone, and watch, it will. Let me pray for you today. Father, help my friends, some of them are having setbacks, and help them not to work it up and process it to make it into a big deal, but rather to just take it calmly, take it in stride, and overcome it. I pray you help my buddies, my friends, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Believe it or not, just finishing up this broadcast here and just starting to feel little tiny drops. Sky over there is getting pretty cloudy. Supposed to rain again tomorrow too, but we'll see. Never know. Anyway, we've been picking up some new subscribers. Thanks for tuning into the channel. I really hope that these teachings help you. And if you want to leave a comment, even though you're new, just drop it there. If you have a question, I may have addressed it in the last couple of years since I've been on the channel. I've been on YouTube. But I'll be willing to address it again. So, if you happen upon this channel, you want to learn how to conquer your anxieties, your depressions, your mental health issues, subscribe. Hit the notification button. And as always, I ask you to share these videos with people who really need them. A lot of people are suffering, and you know that. So, I don't want to say don't be selfish, but don't be selfish. Make sure that you share these with people that can use them. All right, as always, my signature sign off is make sure the peace of Christ rules in your heart. God willing, one way or the other, I'll be with you here again tomorrow on the Oasis.